What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. It's a Wednesday. It's noon where I'm at, and we're doing a live stream. We'll take a few minutes to let some folks get in, as always. I have some folks, some plumbers coming over to the house, so I don't know how much time I have to discuss this, but I wanted to get this done sooner rather than later, so I'm taking the time to do this. I'm not going to give a whole bunch of spiels like I usually do, except for one thing, because it is Wednesday. I do got to give a shout out to A1 Comics for A1 Wednesday. I don't have any links below pertaining to comic books today in this stream, but if you guys aren't following A1 Comics on Instagram, I highly suggest you guys do. They have their Wednesday IG live sales. I'm going to be hanging out tonight. They got some new books in, as always, like they do almost every week. So I hope you guys will go over and support A1 Comics. What's going on, X11 and Simply Good? Yeah, I hear you, man. That Mountain Air, what's going on? So again, we're going to take a few minutes to let folks get in. If you guys notice, there are no hashtags, no links, no anything in the description of this live stream that have to do with comics. The only thing that is there is the phone number for the suicide prevention hotline. You guys can, anybody could dial 988, similar like 911 or 411, and you dial that number on a cell phone, on a landline, and you guys get the suicide prevention hotline. It's real serious. This is, ironically, Suicide Awareness Month, and if you guys haven't checked out, what's going on, Pedro? Ghost Junk. If you guys haven't checked out Swaggle Haas Comics' video he did a couple days ago discussing Suicide Awareness Month, I highly recommend you go check that out sometime later on today when you guys have some time. I'm sure suicide has affected many of us. I will be telling a couple stories today, but obviously we're going to talk about the hot item right now. And hey, look, you know, I have my perspective on this, and some of you may disagree. And I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm not trying to judge you, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything today. You may not like what I have to say, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person or that anybody's right or wrong, but I really hope you can at least listen with open ears. So, Tony, if you're, first off, I really hope there's no joking around in the comment section today. But if you're serious, I would definitely reach out to somebody, because it ain't no joke, man. And depression and whatever we're going through in life, you never know. Mike, what's going on, Mikey Hags? So, again, just to reiterate, we're gonna take another minute or so before we get into this. It is Suicide Awareness Month. I'm sure a lot of us have been affected one way or the other, family members, friends, associates. And what has transpired over the last, maybe 14 hours? I knew about it last night before I went to sleep. And I wanted right then to get on a live stream and talk about this, but I'm glad I waited, because I woke up this morning to just I can't go on a Facebook group, or I can't scroll Instagram without a whole bunch of memes and it's a laughing stock right now of what's transpired since last night. So we're going to talk about it, and like I said, some of you may not agree with me. Some of you may not agree with me, and like I said, I just hope you can listen with an open mind. Tony, what I could say to you today, Tony, is this: there's a lot of people in the chat right now, and if anybody has the capacity in the chat right now to reach out to folks, whether it's in real life, but when we're talking about this community, even if we're just a thumbnail on a screen, and type words coming from a thumbnail, let's communicate with each other. Try to provide resources for each other. Listen to each other. All right. D-Mets, what's going on, D-Mets? That's right. And if anybody's here, man, you know, you're worth being here. And that's to you too, Tony. I'm glad that you're here today. And I hope that maybe listening can give you some type of a spark, you know, anything at all. Yorgo, what's going on, Yorgo? Okay, AR, what's up, AR? Martin. Yeah. All right, we're going to get into it, guys, because I don't know how much time I have, but we're just going to start talking about it. So I'm sure many of you know what's transpired since last night. Some of you may not. So Jason, the owner of Black Flag Comics, went on I believe it was a Facebook Live again, and admitted that his wife has left him for Clayton Crane. He was broken down. I mean, so much to the state to where he was just uncontrollably just it was hard to watch. It was sad to watch. He said that basically his wife she left him for Clayton. They're gone. Clayton Crane used him, et cetera, et cetera. His wife of 20 years. They have, I think, at least one child together. He went into, and again, look, you know, this is what he's saying. I can't state any of this as fact. This is his perspective. He was obviously broken. That's a fact. This man was broken. You know, he talked about his emotional state too, and basically was stating that he didn't want to live anymore. He wanted to die. And that's nothing to joke about. So what I want to talk about today is how our reaction of what I'm seeing right now. This is why I get like this. This is why when all of this C2E2 stuff happened in the first place, and certain people on Instagram just started coming out throwing people under the bus. This is why I came out so passionately and made that live stream. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings, and I'm sick and tired of people hiding behind screens and being bullies and picking up pitchforks. This is why. Now, let me clear the air here. This isn't for sympathy for Jason and what he did with Black Flag, because if we go back to the Black Flag incident, if anybody was if there was blame, I blame Jason and his Black Flag affiliates. Maybe that's Clayton Crane. Maybe, I don't know if his wife was involved with the business. Anybody that was handling that, there's no excuse for how he handled his business and how they handle their business. But how you handle your business and wishing emotional duress to the point of wanting to commit suicide, those are two different things. Karma on somebody's business for having bad business practices and somebody talking about wanting to kill themselves are two different things. Do not get that twisted whatsoever. If you're sitting here saying that this guy, and again, I'm not saying maybe we don't know the other side of the story. Maybe Jason was a horrible husband. I don't know. Maybe Jason was a horrible friend to Clayton. I don't know. That doesn't matter. Anybody that is on the verge of wanting to kill themselves is not good. So I'm not sitting here even trying to have a, victim mentality of, well, who was right and wrong in the situation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who was right and wrong. What matters is at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And nobody should come to a point to where they feel that death is the answer. And for us to come on social media and make memes and laugh about it and say karma, the irony in that is, where's your karma? Where's your karma? You don't think you don't got karma for provoking somebody to commit suicide, laughing at them when they have let everything out and they say that they don't even want to live? Look, if you don't want to have sympathy for the individual, that's fine. You know what you do? Be a man and ignore that shit. You want to say karma? Do it in your own, uh, sanctitude, if that's even the word. In the privacy of your own being. At the end of the day, we don't know what somebody is going through. And I used an example when C2E2 happened. We didn't even know Nerdy Girl was there at this point. We didn't know who took 70 copies. We didn't know anything. And people were going on throwing people under the bus, including Sammy and Skeleton Keys. And the next day, she ends up in the hospital. And what did I say then? Can you imagine if something really happened to her and all this stress? What if something seriously happened to her? Would you guys have felt remorse? I mean, what if Jason, what if he does the unthinkable? And again, I'm not even saying that his wife or Clayton aren't victims or they're at fault or fault right, wrong. Like I said, it doesn't matter. But what if he does the unthinkable? And tonight, we find out that he did it. I mean, are we still going to be like, karma, karma, posting memes of him crying with snot dripping down his face? Do we even think about that? Do we even get to that point? I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat that's rallying behind other people that are here today, Tony, that are struggling with mental health and with depression. I appreciate you guys so much. I wish I could be right deep into the comments right now, but I got to run the show. But I want to give you all a shout out. I really appreciate you guys. Chad, I hear you, man. Yep. So I want to tell a story real quick here. And this is why I'm so adamant about how we act on social media. You guys want to call me a clown, or folks want to call me a bozo and say that I'm sucking up to the fam or I'm doing this and that. Let me tell you why I do what I do. Let me tell you why I do what I do, and maybe you think I'm holier than thou. In my community, there were 2 people in the last few years that committed suicide because of social media bullying. One of them was a grown woman, was an adult. She was in a local Facebook group getting harassed and bullied. Obviously, she had mental health issues already, but that's what I'm trying to say. We don't know. We don't know what somebody is going through. And that's why I always say, oh, it's just a meme, laugh about it. Not when it's at the expense of somebody, of an individual, because you don't know what they're going through. This woman, a grown adult, was harassed by grown adults in local Facebook groups. And she killed herself. It impacted people so much. The admin of that group suffered from PTSD because they felt like it was their fault. And since then, that group has structured its rules a lot more. These are grown adults. My son had a friend that played baseball with him, that was on his baseball team with him, and at 12 years old, he committed suicide. Hung himself in his bedroom. 12 years old. Because of social media bullying. This wasn't even at school. This was social media bullying that they found out after the investigation. 12 years old. So if you all sit here and think that it's just a meme, it's just words, think about it. And we talk about karma. Think about karma. Imagine you having to live with that. if you were out here mocking somebody and they took their own lives or something happened to them because of their health. And you know what it shows me? And you know what it tells me? It tells me because we're all grown ass men. Everyone involved that, we're all grown ass men. We're not, I don't think we're not in high school anymore. We're not, most of us aren't even in our 20s. Most of us are in our 30s, 40s, and up. And we're the ones, we can't wait. We can't wait to hop onto social media and make a meme and laugh about it and get validated by the 25 people that like your meme. Oh, let's see who's hearting it. Let's see who's putting those laugh emojis in the comments. I'm validated today. My existence is validated. You know what it tells me? We ain't grown up for shit. We left high school and we never left high school. Really, seriously, I'm starting to think about this more and more as of late. Grown ass men. We're old. We have gray hair, balding, wrinkles, and we work. I mean, maybe we have a good job and a nice house, and we take vacations. And we are no better than what we were in high school. Sitting there, bullying the dweeb, and how ironic that we all collect comics. But I guess because comics are mainstream now, it's all good. I mean, it's crazy what social media has done to grown ass men. And I said coming into this, straight up, I came into this. A lot of you might not like what I'm saying here, guys, but I'm not sugarcoating this. This is why I am how I am. And people may think, oh, you need a sense of humor. You need to lighten up. It's just fun. No, none of this is for fun and games when it's at the expense of somebody's mental health. Somebody that, I don't care if they're an influencer. I don't care if they own a business. I don't care if they have 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, or if they're an artist, or they handled bad business practices at a con, or you think that they were wrong for that or wrong for this. We are, at the end of the day, all human beings. And that's right. Like 360 said, grown men need to grow up and realize a few things here. One, we're not in high school anymore. So social media isn't going to validate you. It doesn't validate your existence or the size of your manhood. And another thing is that being sensitive, being a man and being sensitive is not a weakness. It's actually a strength, because through our being able to be sensitive means that we can push through all of the fake ass facades of what it means to be a man. And that actually comes from being insecure, because you know nothing else. You can't be in touch with sensitive and being in tune with your feelings. And sometimes we hurt because of that, because we can't express ourselves as men. Thank you, GT Key. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here and for saying what you're saying. Okay, let's address this. Dude plotted and conspired to rip off people with a bunch of him crying on social media is a cry for sympathy. He is the worst enemy at this point. First off, did somebody put a gun to your head? There's little kids out here getting raped and murdered and kidnapped for human trafficking, and somebody wanted to, sell a comic book for a bloated price and he's the worst enemy. Get goddamn real. Get real. Now, if we want to talk about comics, yes, I'm not having sympathy for what he did. Out of that whole issue, Black Flag, whether it be Jason or anyone else affiliated with the Black Flag, they were wrong. What they did and how they handled business were wrong. And to me, karma is never giving them my business again. But to wish death on somebody because of this, to sit here and look at a man, I don't care if you have sympathy for him or not. This isn't about having sympathy. It's about, okay, I'm not gonna stoop to that level by sharing memes or mocking somebody when we don't know what they are going through mentally. Maybe it was a cry for attention. Maybe it was really a cry for help. The thing is, friends with issues, you don't know. You have no idea if it was a fake ass cry for attention or if this man is dead right now because he hung himself or put a bullet in his head. You don't know. And because you don't know, it's better for you to keep your goddamn mouth shut about it. And when I say you, I don't mean you personally. I mean anybody that thinks it's a goddamn joke. Hop on social media. Friends with issues, I apologize if you feel like my reaction just now was attack on you. I apologize. I don't mean to attack you, okay? But what you just saw was my raw emotions and how I can't believe how much we are villainizing people about comic books. And again, this is the same reason why I was attacked when I did my first ever stream saying, stop with the pitchforks. Friends with issues, I'm not saying that what Jason and Black Flag did wasn't horrific. It wasn't the cancer of this hobby. It was. I agree with you on that. What they did and how they handled business was dead wrong. And if his business failed because of it, hey, call it karma. But seeing a man that you don't know what he's going through mentally, and him saying that he wants to kill himself, he admitted that he had a gun. If you don't want sympathy for him, that's fine. At least stay out of it and don't add fuel to the fire at the expense of somebody else's mental health. That's all I'm saying. Martin, I agree. The clicks, it's crazy how we still act. Humanity is selfish and constantly puts down others to try and raise themselves up. It is counterintuitive. Absolutely, Reaper's Comic Den. Yep. Oh, thank you. Sinfully good. Thank you so much for the super chat. The problem is in the old days, if your mouth wrote a check, it could get cash. Absolutely. Now with the internet, no, straight up. And that's why I tell people, it's like, don't see me in traffic. You might say something to the wrong person one day. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. JLS, what's going on? Jeremy, what's going on, Jeremy? Thanks for hopping in today. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy. I think like you don't that if you watch that video, he ain't faking it. And again, I'm not saying I don't know if this guy is a horrible husband, a horrible human being. It doesn't matter. This dude wasn't faking it, and we're all humans and we all have our own issues. I don't wish death on this guy, on anybody. I don't wish hurt on anybody. I want him to get help. People deserve help because you don't know what they've been through or what they're going through. I agree, Stephen. It doesn't matter about the when it comes to this level, those things that you do as a business or that have to do with comic books, that goes out the window to where it comes into somebody's like mental health in their lives. CK, I'm so sorry to hear that news. I'm sending some thoughts out to you, man, and your family. Thank you for being here, and I hope you can at least get some comfort in being a part of what I like to believe is a community for where we're addressing some real serious issues, and maybe we can come out of this helping somebody. It's not about wishing death. It's did you hear what I said? It's about you want to talk about karma. You're mocking somebody that could seriously be offing themselves right now. So answer this. If we get news tonight that this man killed himself and took his own life, and you were out here saying, oh, well, karma, and you're sharing memes of screenshots of his video where he's a broken ass man, are you going to be okay with that? Can you live with that? We got to be the bigger people. That's all I'm saying, guys. We got to be the bigger people. Why? It's not for him. Us being, it goes back to the whole forgiveness thing. It's like, if somebody wrongs you and you can't forgive them, who is it hurting? And I know it may be cliche, but who's it hurting? They're out living their life, and you're sitting here dwelling on it, angry, mad as hell. You're only hurting yourself. Being the bigger people is for us at the end of the day. It's not even for him. Because we, at the end of the day, only have to live with our own selves in the decisions and the actions that we make. And I swear to you, if your actions are today of clowning this man, sharing memes just because you want to laugh, just because you want to get a few little hearts on your IG post for a quick little validation and giggle, and this man takes his own life, you have to live with it. And I'm not saying you're at fault for his actions, but you're only at fault for your own. But I know I couldn't do that. I live with guilt. I live with guilt all day long for so many things. I don't know about you guys, any parents out there. It's like, the time that I raised, I got upset and raised my voice too much at my kids or something. And, and I look back and I could have handled it differently. Like, there could be something that happened when my kid was 8 years old, and I still live with the guilt. I got to live with that. And there have been people that have passed away, close friends and family members of my own, that I feel like, you got to, guys, this, at the end of the day, it's about life, real life. It's not about comic books right now. It's one thing. I always say this is one thing to, we can joke about life in a way to where it heals us sometimes, right? But we have to really look at the line to where it comes at it could come at the expense of somebody's mental health and their well-being. Figure drawing, again, it's not about wishing death. It's about understanding the seriousness of this situation, because we don't know what somebody is going through behind closed doors. Don't talk about me going extreme. That's my point. Nobody No. So what? You want to gamble? You want to be so cool. You want to be down with the cool clique so much that you're gonna make jokes about this man's livelihood. That, well, you know what? He could be, I don't know. You don't know either if it's serious. I don't know. I'm gonna take a gamble. And if he kills himself, he kills himself. Like, I'm sorry again. I'm doing my best not to judge nobody here. But when you don't even have an open ear to what I'm saying, that speaks more about you than it does anyone else. And I don't know you. I see a screen, I see a thumbnail, and a screen handle that's not even your real name. I don't know who you are. But you're sitting here defending, mocking a real human being that is living and breathing, that is seriously going through some mental health issues, regardless of what kind of wrong he did in his life. Are you seriously gaslighting the situation here? You it's not even about sympathy. What about empathy? What about understanding and being the bigger person? You can't humble yourself and say, well, guess what? I don't know. This could be an act, but I don't know. So I'm just going to stay out of it. You can at least do that. You need the validation and the gratification to hop on social media and hit your little laugh emojis. Like that, that's that important to you? And these are honest questions. It's that important to you? We got people in the chat right now coming out vulnerable, talking about how they're dealing with their own mental health issues right now. This shit is real. You know, and when we are in business and we put our business face on, you know, that's why I say, you know, you walk into a Starbucks or even a McDonald's and somebody like has bad bedside manners, is like horrible customer service. I always be like, shit, you know what? Maybe their grandpa just died or something. You don't know what somebody's going through. So how about you be the bigger person, get your latte and say, thank you, hope you have a good day, and walk out instead of saying, I want to talk to the manager. You know, that person needs to be fired. Shame on them. And then take a screenshot of them and make a meme and share it on freaking social media, because that's what we do these days to validate ourselves and to get that gratification. For those that don't know, I actually broke down in a video recently. I almost edited it out, but I didn't. Because you guys don't know what I'm going through in my life. I don't know what you guys are going through in your lives. But you know what I do? You know what I have to do? I have to put all that aside, and I have to get in front of the screen, and I have to be, what's going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, we're talking about comic books. Comic books. Comic books. Comic books. I give a shit about comic books when it comes down to who we are as human beings and how we treat each other. If we can be better human beings to each other, whether in real life or on social media platforms, I will rip up every single book that I own. And that's on God. If I could snap my fingers for everyone to start really being decent human beings to each other, I don't give a shit about any of this. I'll crack my slabs of all my keys. Yep, exactly. Thank you, JLS. While this latest news does not absolve him of his actions, I would be mortified if he was truly trying to reach out for help and we could have helped. And it's not even about helping, but it's about not adding fuel to the fire. Just leave it alone. Ignore it. Don't do anything just for a chuckle. It ain't worth it. Bottom tier, yeah. Ironically, sometimes comics can be the escape. I've been right there too. Absolutely. God tank, I hear you, man. That was real. It was real. And again, we don't know all sides of the stories. We don't I keep saying this. We don't know if he's a horrible husband. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. And again, figure drawing, that's what I just said. It doesn't matter. None of this matters when it comes to how we operate, how we behave, when it comes to our actions. It doesn't matter. I don't even know what books I threw. I think I threw some like Silver Age keys or something, but I don't give a shit. That doesn't matter. It's about how we conduct ourselves, because we're all humans at the end of the day. Straight up. Straight up. Straight up. Stockton, man. That's what's up. Not too far. I'm going to try to get caught up on some comments, guys. Jeremy, sorry to hear that, man. It ain't no joke. That's for real. That is real. We need more of this type of live discussions across the community, unbiased, raw, and straight to the real problems without being convoluted with the distractions. I appreciate you, Reapers. Thank you so much for making that statement. It means a lot. Man, hey, wow, Scrooge. There are two different issues at play here, but too many people are so FOS full of that they're unable to differentiate the two. If I'm reading this correctly, I think what you're saying is people aren't separating the fact that we can, yell and scream and make a mockery out of comic books, but when it comes to real life mental health issues, like we ain't seeing that. We ain't seeing the difference. So that's how I'm taking that. Martin, thank you for sharing your kind of your inside information that you have. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, that's all good, and hopefully, if that's the case, you can pull out of it. But again, that's not the point. My point today is our reactions. It's how we conduct ourselves. And what I'm seeing, it's ugly. It's ugly. We are little children. We're 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds that we have a tool for that allows us to be bullies, and it rewards us for it. And it's that simple. And again, I'm saying this, I'm not saying that if there is anybody here right now that hopped on this and made a meme or shared a meme or laughed at a meme of this guy and what happened last night, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not. I just want you to hear me out. I want you to put the walls down and hear me out. Put yourself in the person's shoes, or put yourself in your own shoes if something bad actually happened to this person. Was it worth it? Is it worth it? I don't care how much you hate him for what he did with the Black Flag stuff, with the C2E2 stuff. I don't care. Is it worth it when it comes to somebody's mental health? We forget that we are all human beings. We all make mistakes. We're all assholes sometimes. Nobody's perfect. And it goes to show, you guys are showing, you're looking in a mirror. Nobody's perfect. People are assholes. Look in a mirror, because that's how some of you are acting. Honestly, that's how some of you are acting about this situation right now. That's how some of you act on social media all the time. You get off by, being that cynic, narcissistic a-hole in the comments section. Maybe you're not even that in real life. But like some other people said, if you said that stuff to some people, I know if a lot of things that people said to me, to my face, I'd probably have a very long prison sentence right now. So, man, guys, this is a flaw. It's a weakness of mine. I, as an empath, I care so much about wanting people to be better people, including myself, because I'm not perfect. I want so bad for human beings to be better people. But the older I get, the more I feel like it ain't never happening. The voice of support has to be louder than the voice of the haters. Thank you, X11. We can only take control of our own actions, says Reaper. And I hear you. And that's why I keep using the metaphor about the pebble. We're only pebbles, right? But if we're all pebbles and we all toss ourselves into that stream, one pebble at a time, we could change the flow forever. Figure, I do like what you say here. Karma isn't real. That's to everyone's. I believe in karma because energy is all connected, and that's a scientific fact. Whether you believe in some type of religion or what your spirituality is, energy is real, and energy attracts. There's scientific evidence to prove this. You yell at a plant, you yell negative things at a plant, it withers away. Like, what we put out into the world, there is and everything is magnetic energy. So I disagree with that figure drawing, but I like what you say here. Let's eliminate karma. Let's just eliminate it. Just be kind for the sake of being kind, not for rewards in this life or the afterlife. Perfectly said. Imagine all the people living for today, right? How cliche, and I know that rhyme, but in the words of John Lennon, I mean, sometimes, it's like, I know a lot of people, you go to church on Sunday, you eat the body of Christ and the blood of Christ, and you go back out in the world and you don't live anything like Jesus. You're online clowning people, dissing people, acting like a goddamn bully, cheating on your wife, doing whatever you want to do. Oh, but just because you go to church on Sunday, so you're going to be forgiven for your. Forget about all that. No heaven above us, no hell below us. All we have is today, this life right now. How are you going to treat? How are you going to live your life and treat others? So I appreciate that. Yep, the free will. Absolutely. You don't listen and spat out the mouth too much. I'm listening right now. I'm listening to you right now. Do you want to hop on the stream? And I say this respectfully, friends with issues. I will give me your email if you are on Instagram. I will give you the link to the stream right now. I'm not going to bring you on to yell at you or to, bully you. Come on. You don't need to show your face. You can just do a voice. You can show your face if you want. and I will give you the floor. I will sit back and I will let you listen, because I will prove you wrong. Humbly, I will prove you wrong. And right now I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sitting here, shutting you out or blocking you or calling you a troll. If you have this perception of me, it's wrong. And I'm going to do my best to try to, provide you with the truth of my intent. But if I offer this opportunity to you and you don't listen, don't project at me and gaslight me, because then you prove where you stand. And again, it's more of you having to look in the mirror than what I'm doing, because you're wrong. But I'll give you the opportunity. Let me know. Do you want me to send you the StreamYard link? I will do it right now. I didn't just realize that, Gate. Figure drawing has a yin and yang. But you're talking about no karma. No, but I like what he was trying to I assume he or she was trying to say. Pop, what's going on? Sequentialism, yeah, I hear you. Everyone's laughing. I don't know what you're talking about. No one's laughing, bro. Hey, go look. I guess you're on YouTube right now. Go on Instagram. Everyone is laughing right now. Everyone. So again, don't gaslight me. Maybe are you unaware of what's transpired over the last 12 hours? I don't know. Obviously, you're here and you're calling dude out. So I think you do know. Go on Instagram. Everybody's laughing. Trying to get caught up, guys. I'm way behind. Ha! I'm using somebody else's misfortune for your personal popularity. Or you're just as bad. What does this say down here? What does this say? I didn't put any comic book links in my description. I didn't put my links. I didn't put any comic book hashtags. I put hashtags to Suicide Awareness Month, to mental health. I put the suicide prevention hotline. And you want to come at me saying I'm doing this for personal gain? I have a platform. With great power comes great responsibility. I have the platform where my voice is being heard, and I'm going to use it for good. Don't come out here and tell me what I'm doing. I'm trying to use this for personal gain, because I guarantee you, I'm going to lose subscribers. I guarantee, let me look right now. I guarantee you I'm losing subscribers because of people like you that don't want to hear the truth. I probably already lost some. Let's see it. No, not yet. Not yet. I mean, shit. Every time I do this, every time I come out and speak my mind, I lose subs. And not only do I lose subs, but when a channel loses subs, the YouTube algorithms screws them, because they look at that and then they don't put your video out as much. You think I'm doing this for personal gain? Were you here when I talked about the 12-year-old, my son's friend that was 12 years old, that took his life because of grown-ass people? Because grown-ass people can't stay off of social media and be decent human beings? You got it twisted. Look in the mirror. Christoph, I got to be honest, there was a part of me that thought maybe it was BS to garner sympathy, but I just watched Jake's video and it's pretty heartbreaking. I hear you. I hear you. I mean, again, this isn't about wrong or right. It's about us being decent human beings. Hey, Simon, what's going on? Walter, for sure. Absolutely. Look, man. My reaction ain't helping. We've had close to 100 people here today, and we got people in the chat right now for offering solutions or how do we better ourselves. And you're saying that this ain't doing anything. It ain't helping, bro. I got people in here right now talking about how they are suffering from their own mental health issues. Maybe it ain't helping you because you got a stick so far up your ass. I don't know. If it ain't helping you, why are you here? Why are you here? Now I am going to ask the question, to troll for some type of validation? Who are you really? Maybe you have multiple screen names and you're somebody else that hops in here and you just want to give me shit because you got nothing better to do. I don't know. But obviously, you ain't adding anything productive. I got dozens of people in the chat right now adding productive solutions and conversations to how we can address real serious mental health issues, especially as men in a society that doesn't allow men to show emotion. And you want to say it ain't helping, bro. I'm not, look, man, I gave you the opportunity to come on the show. I'm done giving you attention because that's what you're doing right now. You're being weird because you ain't adding nothing productive to this conversation. So hop on. Send me the link. Let's do it. Copy the link. All right. What is your email? I'm not a doctor. Okay. So we as a community can't encourage each other and be a community for each other to help with mental health. Wow, man, this is just beyond me. Okay, what's your email? Friends with issues? I got the link right here. I'm not going to put it publicly because I don't want everyone hopping in. I'll wait for your email, friends with issues. I got a copy. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Yep, that's what I thought. Captain Journo Comics at gmail.com. Here's my email. You don't want to put your email publicly? Email me. I'll send you the link. I got a copy right now. Isn't it? I mean, you guys are. This is proving my point. I'm here doing a live stream to talk about a serious issue, mental health and suicide awareness, and people still act like this. I didn't see it. I apologize. Can you add it one more time? Add the email one more time because I was way behind and I was trying to catch up. Leave your email one more time, please. I got the invite in an email. I'm just waiting for your email to put in the recipients. So I'm waiting. I got the email with the link in the, in the body of the email. I just need your email to put in the recipient, and then I can send it over. Anyways, I was just saying, guys, while we're waiting for this email to be typed up again, I did not see it anywhere. I scrolled, trying to catch up. I did not see it. If anybody saw the email in the chat, okay, circumstances. I'll give you a little leeway here. I understand what you're saying about trying to have a laugh on the expense of Clayton Crane. I do. But I'm gonna try to have you have a little bit of humility here, okay? Do you not think that even that, though, is perpetuating the bigger problem? Maybe even because of the timing, maybe it's too soon. I get what you're saying, and you're right, because I didn't see anything directly from you knocking Jason. And it's, when I seen the meme, I don't know if you shared this one. There was the meme of I'm coming for that acetate, and it was a picture of Crane. But can we not understand that, like, all of this is still so heavily connected to a man that literally could have killed himself as we are talking right now? Look, friends with issues, if you don't send me your email right now, like within the next 60 seconds, and put your money where your mouth is, I'm blocking you. So you could just go and create another shell account, probably, but you're going to get blocked because what you're doing right now is just for attention. I'm willing to give you all the attention in the world to come up on my show. Leave me your email. Either that or I'm blocking you because you ain't adding nothing productive to this conversation. Yeah, Peter, I agree. I agree, Peter. Target the work, the industry practices, leave the personal alone, in my feelings. Absolutely, Brother John. I agree 100%. 100%. And that's how we actually solve things. Remember, folks, supposedly most of us actually want accountability and we want the comic book hobby to be prosperous. If that's the case, doing what Brother John said is the only way we're going to get to that. Excuse me. Need some water, guys. That's the only way. Yeah, the guy wasn't coming on. I gave him my email. He has my email, so he can. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. See, this is what I'm talking about. So we just I got somebody else that hit me up that we're gonna bring on that I think is going to add actually some positive commentary to the conversation instead of, trolling. Robert, what's going on, Robert? Appreciate it. At the very least, be a decent human being. Now, remember, guys, I got some plumbers coming over. Oh. So I don't know how much more time I'll have. They haven't called me yet saying that they're on their way. So I'm hoping that we can allow this guest to come on and talk shop for a moment here. Why we still got a solid audience. We're still in the thick of this. Yeah, there's a lot going on, PQ. Hey, Brandon, what's going on, Brandon? At the very least, be a decent human being and just leave the guy alone to process this and try to heal. That's not a lot to ask. Agreed. Absolutely. And again, I want to circle back. This is not about Jason or Clayton or anybody. At the end of the day, it's about us holding ourselves accountable on the types of human beings that we want to be. This is about us living with the actions and the decisions that we make and understanding that the words that we use and the actions that we make do impact other people. And sometimes we forget that we're all human. All right, guys, I'm going to bring in a guest. Again, like I said, I don't know how much longer we'll be here, but I'm glad that we have a guest coming on that can add some context. It's not a certain individual that, said he was ripe and ready to come on. It's usually the case with those types, but we're going to bring on an old friend of the channel, Matt Kennedy. Matt, what is going on?
Hey, Chris. Crazy news these days. Crazy news.
Good to see you face to face here.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been in connection for a really, really long time, and this is the first time that we've sort of shared an appearance on something. So I'm really happy to be here, and this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart for a number of reasons. But as the guy who wrote the 2 columns that really kind of laid out all of the C2E2 drama on Go Collect, and a lot of that got shared on other channels and usually credited, which is fantastic. But even if it hadn't been, I'm happy to put it all in one place. I think it's important to understand that there's a real difference between reporting and opining. And I think that my intent was to get as much of the facts of what was happening as it was happening as possible and verify them. And there were people that reached out and that felt, that being mentioned, that people that were photographed at that line and saying, oh, I was only there for a minute. And I'm like, well, that's good to know, because I actually posted this as a defense saying that clearly you hadn't cut the line. But this information now shows that maybe that's why people thought people were cutting the line. But when it comes down to Jason, he was definitely vilified. But if you go back to his first kind of explanation video, he had credited his wife for setting up that whole situation, even in that video. It's confusing because I think in his recent video from last night, he talks about how people had said that he was acting weird at Chicago and Boston. I'm not clear if the breakup had happened already at that point or not at that point. It's sort of unclear. What is very clear is that this is a gentleman under an inordinate amount of distress that I would wish on nobody, regardless of whether he did something that was unacceptable, whether he was the main driver of that or just a portion of it. I think that it's important for people to understand that without redemption, we have nothing. Why do we read comic books if we don't enjoy redemption stories?
Love it. Yep.
give someone a chance to apologize, and maybe take a while to forgive, but at least accept the explanation. Some people make it worse when they apologize. We've seen that,
Right.
time and time again. But I think in Jason's case, where I was really, really upset when I saw that video, and I was extremely concerned for him, and I remain concerned for him, and I hope that that video was all the venting he needed, that post was something that he needed to unburden his soul over something that he felt like he couldn't talk to anybody in his immediate vicinity about, and having an audience and having people that he views as a support system, who have subscribed to his channel, who have followed him, who have supported his business, that it seems like a very natural thing for him to do, to be able to post that there, and just as a way of letting off a type of steam, and I love that you're doing this. I love that Swag, did his thing a couple of days ago. Also, suicide, a very personal thing to him, and I've gotten in the habit of never reading the comments whenever possible, because I don't have to. I don't have a channel like you do. You have to read the comments.
Yep.
You're doing a live video and you have to do this. And I worry for the mental health of everybody who does this, because it's not a lot of love in those
Yep.
in those instances. And so let me be the first to say that I really appreciate what you do. I've always appreciated what you do. And when you do get emotional, it's really, to me, an indication of how much you really truly care. And I don't know what happens when you press play and press pause. So I'm sure that your life is as difficult as anybody's. And the fact that you're able to get beyond those difficulties, open up a source of conversation, and still keep it together, is incredible. And if you didn't keep it together, that would still be incredible.
Right. I really appreciate you, stating those things, and it's encouraging. But you're right on so many levels. I mean, when you look at just the point you made about the comment section and it's a tough crowd, and
Yeah.
being, I consider myself very much an empath, and I always say, everything I've done in life, I wanted to change the world in some form or fashion, whether it was through my music or being here or using comics or something like that. And people are heartless, but I really, it's interesting because I really, a lot of times, this is why I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And even with all the C2E2 stuff and everything that's happened after that,
Yeah.
I really think that there are people that have good intent. And then, but they don't see the kind of the repercussion of it, or those that have good intent. There's that small minority that's really loud and they know what they're doing. They more are maybe seeking the attention, or, just call them trolls, whatever. They really have that kind of narcissistic personality to where that's what they're feeding off of.
Yeah.
But they use, I'm doing this for the community, I'm doing this for transparency, we got to hold people accountable. And then you get a larger group of individuals that really have good intent, and they side with these people, and and another thing happens is we start feeding into this where we don't have all the facts straight even. So that's where a lot of these conspiracy theories comes from.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, I'm going to reiterate, at the beginning of all this, when it first came out, anything first came out, people were cutting lines at Chicago. I knew exactly what was going to happen, because people were going to start getting thrown under the bus because of this type of mentality. But I do want to say that I appreciate you coming on today, because as somebody that, has worked in the industry for a long time, you bring a very, I think, grounded perspective. But I want to ask you, like, for those people that have good intent, and even with this situation with what happened with Jason last night, and, really looking at the state of an individual's mental health, and you see all these memes, and, you get the people that are like, oh, it's just all for fun, or it's just like people that aren't seeing the severity of this, or still kind of like, oh, this is about comic books, and I do have good intent, I just want my comic book hobby to be clean and good. What type of advice do you have for them for them to allow themselves to humble themselves, and then say, be a part of a evolving solution, instead of just perpetuating kind of this, status quo of how we, especially I think as men, because we're majority men here, in how we handle these situations when they arise, so we can actually better a situation instead of being counterproductive.
I think that it's really good to be mindful of how tribal we've become in every aspect of society and how dangerous that can be. That the need to be right, the need to own someone online, these escalating things that would never happen in person when two people speak, that would rarely happen if everybody was on a Zoom. Like if every single comment were accompanied by your face and your expression, so that there was no way of misunderstanding your intent as you say something, then you may catch something in the response as you're saying it, as someone receives it, that sends you a message as a person with some degree of empathy. And I think we all have some degree of empathy, that your words are hurting them, and that might not have been your intent. Your intent might only have been to correct what you viewed to be a mistake. Now, sometimes that breaks down to you understanding the facts differently, or you having just varying opinions. And then there's the idea that people have that opinions just can be somehow correct. Opinions are just opinions. But I think that where it really gets kind of offline is that, again, a lot of people who found their way to comic books didn't find their way to comic books because they were class president, didn't find their way to comic books because they were homecoming queen. They didn't find themselves to a type of storytelling which has such a rich fantasy life that supplies an escape for legitimately tough situations, and I consider myself among that crowd. Like, I think comic books saved my life. And even as I've found myself growing away from the community in a way sometimes, because I feel like there's just too much scorn, that I think it's good to realize that these same things that we all love, other people with different opinions love just as much as we do. And to not realize that may make most of us more fragile than the people that you might have a war with on a daily basis is a disservice to not just that person's feelings and emotions and just the betterment of being good people in society, but I think it belittles the person who takes that charge. Because if your aim is to be tough, then you don't get tough beating up smaller kids.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You get tough going toe to toe with somebody who's on the same level or better, and you get better at it. And you get better by losing. You get better by losing a fight. You get better by losing an argument, and understanding why you lost the argument, and knowing that, wow, I wasn't entirely right. Not being so 100% sure that my position is the only position and everything that comes out of my mouth is the gospel. And I think that it really helps if people can understand that some people are trolls. Some people are in it just to, cause problems, to cause chaos. And some people fail to identify that, and things can get serious. But I also think that we would all do well too on as a defense against that stuff. If we're going to take that Slytherin class of defense of the black arts here, and how not to suffer from the diswisdom of fools, that I think that it's important to understand that those people's opinions are just opinions. If you're taking something really seriously, if someone says something and it hurts, why does it hurt? Does it hurt because you agree with them? Does it hurt because you used to agree with them? Does it hurt because you don't want to see yourself in that light? Then take a minute. Take a minute to look at it. Not 2 minutes, not 5 minutes. A single minute, 60 seconds. And look at it and say, is there validity to that? And if there is validity to that, do I need to address it right now, or should I wait? Should I wait and address it later? And if you're the type of person that sort of finds joy in upsetting other people, why do you find joy in upsetting other people? 1 minute, take 60 seconds to ask yourself, why is this something that makes me happy? Why is this something that gives me some sense of power, some sense of agency? And is there some other creative way that I could find that agency? Because that's not doing you any more good than it's doing the person that you're trying to hurt. Two negatives are two bad things. We're not math equations. We don't multiply and become, two negatives to become a positive. It's just all loss. Yep. And loss is loss. So I think that you know, as we try and process events like these, and certainly, you know, I write a column. I write a column for Go Collect, and my aim is to shed a light on, you know, the investment potential in comics and certain types of comics. You could say that I'm a speculator in the dirty word sense of speculator, but I usually, you know, I provide enough information that I'm saying this is why I think this. You don't have to think this any more than I would tell you to buy Bitcoin or something. You know, it's
Right.
like,
Yep.
you know, this is something that people have to take, but because of that, because there is a journalistic perception of this, I have a responsibility to make sure that I don't overstep boundaries. And I'll tell you, I've published columns where I've gotten someone who's contacted me, and they were like, "Oh, the way I'm reading this, and it may not have been the way that I intended it. It makes it seem like this," and I'm like, "Well, then I'm going to change that because I don't want you to feel that way. And if it's just changing a couple of words, then that's not a big deal to me, you know. And sometimes it's changing, you know, the way that something is phrased to lead it a little bit better towards what the message of the overall column is, you know. And if anybody who reads what I write, I don't go negative. I don't like to write bad reviews. When I was a film critic for KLSX, I almost never did bad reviews. I hated doing bad reviews. I would just rather give, you know, positive press to something that I enjoyed. And when you had to be in a room with somebody who made a film and you had to review it and you weren't happy about it, there was nothing worse in the world. There's no feeling worse. Like, I don't want to be the person that stomps on somebody else's hard work. I can say that I like something for a reason. I can say that I dislike something for a reason. I'm not going to say that that person's a terrible person because they wrote Wolverine a way that I don't want Wolverine to be written.
Right.
You know, that you know, the person who developed a logo that has now been sort of taken by a group that I don't like, I'm not going to say that person, you know, is, you know, a steaming turd because they developed something with a completely different intent than the way that something was taken. And so I think that that sort of Hippocratic oath of do no harm, which I think you were talking about, you know, without saying it as such just a few moments ago, we would do all well to remember that. Do no harm. You know, like, why are we in this? Are we in this because we want to hurt people? I would hope not. You know, some people might be. But I think that most of us are in this because we enjoy heroism. You know, we enjoy selflessness. You know, we enjoy, you know, something good coming of something tragic. And, you know, I just really hope, you know, I think we're still in the middle of this story, and I'm afraid. I'm really, really afraid. And I feel a responsibility to reach out to Jason and be like, hey, man, you know, this story has gone on beyond what it was, and I don't think people view you as quite the villain as they did. And I know that it sucked and it happens. But what's more important is that I think people really want to know that you're okay, you know. And if, you know, once they find out he's okay, they're like, oh, and he's still that terrible guy that did that acetate thing. Well, then they're gonna do that, you know, like. And I think he's learned from it. I think we've all learned from it. I think CGC has even learned from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that some good came out of this. Some more bad may come out of this, but this is very different from piling on to a guy who has been extremely open and honest about an incredible amount of pain that if anybody who's been through that type of thing understands to be among the worst type of pain that you could possibly have. And I think that he having the responsibility of having his daughter is going to be okay. And I think that they will be a unit and they will be able to heal together. And who knows what's going to happen with this other situation. But that it's not our responsibility as fans or even as critics of the industry to make that worse. And so I luckily haven't seen any memes that anybody's made of him. And I hope not to. I will steer clear of them. If I spot them, then, you know, I'm going to stop following the accounts that posted them.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, when I woke up this morning, I already knew about it last night. I woke up this morning and it was everything. I mean, there's so much you touched on that I mean, just from, you're talking about like intent versus perception. I talk about that a lot. I think that's a big thing for me, for anybody in a position that has people looking or listening. And I think so much of that and other stuff you said comes back down to simple communication. And that's another thing that I've been talking about heavily lately. It's like we're not having conversations, and that's the starting point. That's the starting point between where we're at now, and if we're either gonna move forward or fall backwards. And so much of this, just the C2E2 stuff and everything, like you just said, I think there's some good that's came of that. And while I'm seeing all the beating the dead horse of the pitchfork mentality, I'm sitting here trying to have the conversation. I'm getting my name called out by other YouTubers. People are unsubscribing for me, and I'm taking it. It's like, I don't care. I know my heart, and I'm doing this for the proper reason. And I feel like through all that, I've had a lot of great conversation. I do believe that, all these players involved, the industry players, I do believe there's been some growth and some learning. And I don't think it stops where we're at now. I think it needs to continue.
Yeah.
And then, you got to look at the other side of that, the valid frustrations, et cetera, et cetera. But it all kind of, for me, circles back to how we act. And I said this in the stream I did with Swaggelhoss and Bronze Age the other day when talking about conflict of interest. And a lot of it came down to, it's not about necessarily people being shady or conflict of interest or people scheming behind. It's just about people that are maybe doing things that either maybe you shouldn't have done it, or maybe it's okay that you did it, but it looks this way to us.
Right.
And then how you react to us when we say so, when we say such.
Optics.
And it comes down to this transparency thing. And my whole thing was, again, it comes back to us, you guys that are here right now. We have so much more power than we think as individuals in this hobby, whether it's speaking with our money and our purchasing power, who we support, whether it's, reaching out to influencers or content creators or being in chats like these, communicating, because people are listening, and there's a lot of us that get really loud a lot of the time. So I want to encourage everyone to keep doing that. But again, to another point that you made, it's about, you got to ask yourself, what are you in this for? And if you're really in it because you want to hold people accountable, or you want this hobby to be good and you want to have a good, solid community, you're going to change the way that you react to things. And so let's circle it back to this specific situation with Jason, where this whole situation, we went from C2E2 to Toronto to the big time collectibles thing, like the magnifying glass is on everything, and we can take the silver lining out of that. Yeah. Sure. But I would have never expected it, all that to kind of come to this now. And I know that this situation with Jason is even more heightened because of all the attention all this has already had. And so we ask ourselves, are you unable to separate the humanity versus like comic books? Or are we looking at this as just another way to stroke our egos? Like, or again, are we still coming from a place of good intent where, like karma, this guy did the comic book industry wrong, but we're not separating. We're not seeing that this is real life serious stuff. Comic books don't matter at the moment. So how do you change how you respond? So if you're not in it to troll, if you're not in it to be a straight narcissist that only wants to feed your ego, take a step back and for your own sake, put it on pause. So I think kind of, again, Matt, that's kind of what I'm getting from the bulk of what you're saying in terms of how we can address this situation. But I want to say one last thing about what you said as well. And it kind of really speaks to me a lot. And I'm going to take your advice, because it's very hard for me to, I don't want to say not feed the trolls but I am I do have this personality flaw where I think one part of it is I want people to be better people. So when I see them acting in such a way, I wish every single person could be better. Yeah. But I'm learning that I can't change everyone. But there is, I'm not going to lie. It's not out of insecurity. I don't think it's not out of ego, but I do have a pride that wants to make sure that the outside world understands my soul. And, you know, call it what you want. I don't know. But I think if somebody's like dirty in my name, you know, I want to feel like I have the right to defend myself.
Sure. Now, know too that you have a pretty unique voice and a unique delivery though too. So I mean, like, there's room throughout, you know, YouTube and Instagram and TikTok or what have you, for every type of voice that represents every type of fan. And I think that you represent a really specific type of fan with a much broader appeal towards just loving stuff, like just loving the hobby. And that has always come across. So like when you do get really, really animated, it's great because you don't see that on every other channel. You know, like that's not something that, like, you're not going to see Reggie, you know, become really, really super emotional about something. Reggie is like, you know, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder, you know, like his character, his persona is this really specific type of thing. And I love him because he's this really specific type of thing. Right. Swag is a really specific type of thing. Bry, you know, Bry's comics, you know, everybody has their lane. And so I'm really glad that you allow yourself this kind of unfiltered presentation of like how you feel about things as they're happening. And I think, and what's even better about it is that you're not set in an opinion about it. Like, you'll talk about it and you'll be like, this is something that I'm seeing. And you're like, and this drives me up. And then someone can say something, you'd be like, that's a really good point. And so like the idea that you're not just out here shouting at somebody, you're not the guy on, you know, the corner of Melrose screaming at cars as they go by. You know, it's like that you're, hey man, I've got this thing and I want to talk about this. Who wants to talk about this with me? And you get this amazing audience. You know, like you say, you've had 100 people in and out constantly throughout this, you know, this particular broadcast. You've got, you know, a shit ton of subscribers, you know, and I think that speaks to the fact that people do enjoy that your voice is your voice. And so I think the best channels, you know, Bronze, I love following Bronze, you know, and it's like he has a really specific thof He's got like a really even keel temper, and he'll kind of lay out the argument, and then it's like, so what do you think? And then it goes. And so like I like all of a large group of the people in this community, even some of the people that I think catch a little bit of hell, and I know why they catch a little hell. And some of it is maybe too much caffeine. Some of it is, you know, maybe a little bit of, you know, it seems like they have a personal interest in something, and it turns out that maybe they do. And so people feel betrayed when that happens. You know, when you started your channel, you weren't even selling comics. And so like anybody could watch, and it was just like, this dude loves this. And so I would watch because I'm like, this guy absolutely loves stuff. He says things in a way that I don't say. He sees things from a completely different perspective than I see them. But we have a lot of there's that diagram that crosses where it's like, oh yeah, man, that's like, this is what unites us all. And I think that it would help everybody, whether they're positive in the comments or negative in the comments. And I'm not looking at them, so I have no idea what people are writing. So people might be, you know, shooting middle fingers at me. I don't know. But but I would suggest to everybody that they understand that there's a Venn diagram between you and the person you hate most. That there's that area, and it's comics. And it might not be the same comics, but it's the fact that you collect them. You may have the same problem with the same people. You may love the same stuff, not all the same stuff. We have way more in common than we don't. Yep. And, you know, while I may not be as huge a fan of like those early Image years as I was of the Vertigo stuff before it, like I get why those kids bought that stuff. That stuff was beautifully drawn. You know, like I was more into reading than I was necessarily into the artwork. But now when I go back and I'm a huge art collector, I'm like, man, I should have bought that Todd McFarlane stuff when I had the chance, you know, and some of this other stuff, because I think that they represent not just, you know, comics aren't just this immediate form of nostalgia that we can harken back to. You have to open them and read them for them to mean something. Right. So, you know, the variants and this other stuff, we all get bent out of shape about it. It drives us all crazy, right? Because we saw it happen before, and we don't want it to kill our hobby. And at the end of the day, if we're not buying it, what do we care? Like if someone wants to pay $1,200, you know, for a 9.8 bootleg acetate comic, I mean, because they love it, then I hope that's why they bought it. If they bought it because they want it to be worth more money, then that's the folly of the market. I mean, it will either be valuable or it won't. And it turns out that maybe that comic will be quite valuable and the rest of them won't, because they're not going to get that same, blue label. But I think that at every aspect, no matter what we look at, no matter what we have a problem with, and no matter what person we have a problem with, understand that if they're on that same thread, we both like this channel. It's like, why are you going to be a jerk to your friend's friend? Like if someone likes you and I like you, we have that in common. Why you would never be a jerk to your friend's friend in public, like in real life.
Yep.
And I think I think we are a community, and I think if we're going to consider ourselves a community, and if we're going to consider ourselves a community that influences incredibly important markets like investors, then, we got to take care of our own, like we got to be sure that we're civil to at least ourselves. And then, realize where the real enemies are, and I think, and when we see injustice, we should call it out. But I think that we should understand that there's ways of doing it that are going to bring about the outcome that you want. And there are ways that are doing it that are going to make people stop listening to you. And when people just hammer with negativity, they're going to stop reading the comments. I mean, like, I'm amazed that CGC Mike responds to anything on the CGC boards. Like, he gets nothing but an earful of just like hate, like 4,000 posts or something like that, And I'm like, and he still goes in there, he still reads them, and he still posts. And maybe that's his job, but I think it would serve us all better to write intelligent letters to the companies that do things that we don't want them to do. Because I think a mailed letter with a stamp on it, not necessarily an email or a pithy comment, or, something that someone thinks is a great microphone drop in their own world, that if you take the time to put a stamp on it and send it, the people pay attention to it. That stuff gets read. If you get some kind of petition signed, and hopefully it's a petition with good intent and not, just some kind of soul killing thing, which I see a lot of those too. Right. That you get enough signatures, people pay attention. Like discussions like this, when the powers that be, if we were talking about a specific CGC or CBCS issue or PGX or anybody, Marvel, DC, Image, whoever, that someone at that company is paying attention to these channels that have good followings. And they're going to make notes and be like, well, it seems like people aren't reacting so well to that thing that we did. Maybe we should think about that. But also understand this. This is something that I didn't see discussed, and I wanted to say, the default position from a legal point of view is to say nothing. Mm-hmm. So frequently companies take a very long time to respond to anything because they can't accidentally admit to wrongdoing that could be culpable, recoupable damage. And so there's a lot of people that paid a lot of money to figure out what that reply is going to be. And then as new information comes in, that reply may change. Right. So it's like you say, we should have an instinct to want to get it right, not get it fast. But I understand in the very competitive market of what we do in writing about a niche hobby that we want to be first to the punch in getting the story out there. I like to take a little bit more time to try and get as much information as I can to make sure I'm getting at least a full picture of where I was when I wrote it. And then if I have to write a retraction, I'll write a retraction. If I have to pull something out, I'll pull it out. If I have to apologize, I'll apologize. And I think that that's something you don't see a lot online. You don't see people say, oh man, I'm really sorry, I was wrong. And when you do, you're like, I'm in a great community. Like if you're on someone's Facebook page and someone's like, oh, you're absolutely right, I'm really sorry. Oh yeah, no problem. Like, don't you get filled with joy? Like, right, it's your birthday?
Like, what dimension did I just
yeah. Did I just follow the unicorn? Where's darkness? It's like it's so rare to see, but it's so joyous. And I think that we would allow ourselves so much more joy to see so much more of that just in general. So rather than being the guy that piles on, be the guy that sees somebody's comment and is like, wow, that's a really good point. That's a really smart thing. Mostly I used to be pretty, like, I wouldn't say reactionary, but I would say things, and I think maybe a shorter way than it could have been said that could be interpreted in poorly. I write a lot of stuff and I don't hit send. I write a lot of stuff and I don't post it. Yep. A lot.
I do too.
And then what I finally end up writing is like, really good video, man. It's like, because if it entertained me for that amount of time, number one, give it a like. Like if you're watching something for this amount of time, you haven't hit like, come on, hit like. But, you know, like also if you know, if you enjoy the fact that videos like this mean something to you, that these discussions mean something, that they open up a door to be able to discuss not just, you know, huge issues, but, you know, go from the macro to the micro and understanding how things can be better, how we can be better people, you know, in this hobby. You know, part of being in the community is if you know somebody collects something you don't collect, you're on the lookout for it for them.
Right.
You know, not for you, not so you can make money off of them, but because you know that it's going to mean a lot to them to complete that collection. You know, like, and that's something that I hope everybody does, you know, that it's not just this really, you know, self-absorbed thing of I want this, I have all the marbles. Well, yeah, who are you going to play if you've got all the marbles? So, you know, my vote is for compassion. My vote is for integrity, I think, more than anything. And I think that too frequently we get caught up in our own reasons of why we're upset about something that doesn't even affect us. And we allow that to become this beast, you know, that takes us over. And, you know, Bruce Banner's never happy with the destruction the Hulk does when he comes to. So let us learn from that if we learn nothing else.
Great points again, Matt. I want to reflect on a few things. One, you just reminded me, I remember some time back, there was, you know, this was probably before I had a decent amount of subs, and there was another small YouTube channel that I used to watch, and you know, just a guy showing off his comic books, and I did like, I think it was like a 1,000 subscriber contest thing that I did or something, and he did an entry, and one of the questions that I asked was like, what's your favorite comic book run or something like that, and he was like, Streets of Poison, the Captain America run with that Ron Lim did, that introduced the Bullseye to Captain America and that whole little run. And it brought out introduced Crossbones.
Yeah.
Right. So and he was like, yeah, so one of my favorite artists growing up was Ron Lim, and this is my favorite, whatever. And it just so happened, you know, I'm in Sacramento. Ron Lim was doing a signing like the next week. So I went there and I brought it was like the book from the Streets of Poison run where I think Bullseye, Crossbones was his favorite villain. Ron Lim was one of his favorite artists, and I think it's the one where Crossbones is like standing over Cap or something like that on the cover. But I brought the book and had Ron Lim sign it, and I took a picture of Ron Lim signing it and printed it out. I put it in the poly bag and I sent it to him. I didn't even, I think I had his address because he had me commission an art piece for him.
Yeah.
And so I had his address. I sent it to the guy. I didn't even tell him. Yeah. And just his response to that, it meant the world to me. He did a video of it. And you just reminded me of that, because sometimes like the things that matter the most to us in life, and if you want to call this a community, is, you know, what makes us happy is the happiness of other people, and what we can do that doesn't just benefit us, it benefits others. And I want to tie that into some other points you made. And it reminded me about how I always say that you said we have so much in common. We are in such a divisive world right now, whether it's politics, race, religion, anything we could fight over. Go outside and walk down your street and say hello to your neighbors, and I can guarantee you, it doesn't matter if their race, their ethnicity, their religion, any of who they voted for. If you just start walking down your street and start hey, how's it going? And you start up a conversation with your neighbors, you're going to find out that all of those people have so much more in common with you than in where you differ. And we're just so hyper focused on what we think, is dividing us. And then we blow it out of proportion. And the same goes with comic books. And it's just crazy because we have so much more here that we can build on and connect with. And at the end of the day, it comes back to that human factor. Understand that we're all human beings. Start the conversation. We all, and it's so funny that I get so much crap all the time. You can't agree with anybody that, has a different opinion. You hear a different opinion and you're like,
do they not watch your show? Do they never watch?
Exactly. I'm like, what I think it is, I understand maybe, again, intent versus perception. I get passionate. So maybe people kind of feel that at times. But I think another thing, and I've said this before, is what I think it's kind of a projection thing. I think people come into I think there was something that you had commented recently that I kind of disagreed, and I don't even know if you. I got to go back and see if you even
Yeah, and
responded
you
to
say, "Oh, can you clarify that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Here's what I take from it." Yeah, and it was exactly like it's easy to misinterpret things that aren't like super long, and then no one's gonna read them, you know, or that don't have, and it's really hard without like a voice, like
the
without
voice, the font. Yep,
italics or bolding or like some kind of emphasis. And so like not having that on a lot of social media does that. But yeah, you like, oh, well, and we did have like a little conversation, like, oh, I get it, and it's like, and it was that, oh no, I agree, like I actually totally agree with you. Here's this other thing, but I think that that should be everything, right? Like I don't think anybody agrees with anybody all the time.
Oh
And I
God,
mean, and I
what a
think if
world
you do,
would it be?
what a boring world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like if
I
we're
do
standing
think,
on a street,
right.
you write a 6 on the ground, and I'm standing across from you. It looks
Yeah,
like a 9 to me.
yep.
We're both right.
Reception, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I do think too. I think people get kind of taken back because, and kind of like what you were saying about. I know certain people, and I've had conversations with Swaggle House about this. I'm like, man, so many similarities between us in terms of how we collect and all that. But there's the personalities, and I'm like, man, I wish I could be as just like calm.
Chill.
Same with Bronze, that calm
Yeah.
collect, but I can't. But
Yeah.
I think people get taken back too when they disagree with me in the comments, and I'm like, no, or maybe they don't even disagree with me. Maybe they say something, and I'm like, well, I respectfully, I do disagree. Here, they're like, what? How dare somebody on YouTube? Like, I don't think they're used to that. I think maybe they think that a YouTuber is just supposed to like heart your comment and say thanks for watching. Like,
right.
So, I don't know. I've gotten kind of I am more careful about my response. If I feel like it's maybe I could or kind of have a debate here, and I could think it'll be a positive one. If
Sure.
I feel like somebody's automatically like just kind of like, I'm like, I'm not even going to deal with that.
Yeah. It's a smart default position for sure. For sure.
Man, well, Matt, I really I probably need to start heading off soon myself. Sure. I got plumbers that were supposed to be here from 12 to 2, and it's already almost 2, and I'm gonna have to go make a phone call here and be like, where are you? But I'm glad they didn't come, actually, because it allowed me to come here and get stuff off my chest, and I'm really appreciative of you taking the opportunity to hop on and share your thoughts, man. I think, a lot of really good perspective, just from the human side of things, and somebody who's, worked in the industry. And I think we covered a lot of ground just in terms of where we've been the last few weeks and how we could keep moving the conversation forward in a positive and productive manner, and to really allow ourselves, look, good intent. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. We all know that saying. And I just want everyone to do their best to step outside of yourselves and just think about everyone else in the equation, and how certain things, how your actions are going to affect different people, and how it's going to affect the actions of what you want. Like Matt said, sit there with things for 60 seconds even and contemplate it. If I react this way, what is that? Or how is this making me feel? Or why do I need to respond to it this way? Take that minute and think about it, and then figure that out before we, continue to proceed with such reactionary emotional responses that have the opposite effect or the opposite outcome of what we're saying we really want. And I think that's the biggest takeaway here. And when it comes to Jason with Black Flag, again, I'm putting the comic books aside. Yeah, what they did with their business practices, it is what it is right now. That doesn't matter, because I don't want anybody's mental health taking even more hits or something serious happening to anybody. So for me, when it comes to the comic book world, Black Flag isn't important right now. I hope that this individual gets the help he deserves. I hope he can come back just in life and start doing positive things for himself and his daughter. And hey, if the time comes where Black Flag puts their, literal
The white flag in the air.
It
Yeah.
puts the white right or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
or starts just flying the black flag again. And then we can come back to the table and say, okay, black flag, like, let's talk about transparency. Let's talk about accountability. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for it, folks. But Matt, if you had any like just final words you wanted to, share today.
I mean, again, I just think just everybody remember that beyond the business, we're all people. We're all incredibly fallible. You know, not getting not getting something you bought 2 days in the mail isn't the end of the world. I think is many people, if they make a mistake, are going to try and make up for it, and they're going to want to know how they can do it. Give them an option. At least be open enough to the fact that it was an honest mistake to give them a chance to make good on it. If they don't do that, then you've got a legitimate gripe, but mistakes can happen. You never know where you fall in the batting order in how you receive a service. As we saw, there was massive reaction to the way that, that black flag situation was handled. But there's so many, it was like a perfect storm. I mean, it was like 20 different things happening at once that all contributed to this event. So to hold any one part of it more accountable than the other, and it's already done. Like we've already discussed it. We've already talked about why it might have been bad or good. Understand that treat somebody that you would want to be treated on your worst day.
Right.
Always. Don't take it for granted that someone else is having the exact same day you're having. And that can mean you're having a bad day. Don't make somebody else's day bad because you're having a bad day. But just because you're having, a really good day and you see somebody else having a bad day doesn't mean that they woke up wanting to have a bad day. We're all victims of circumstance, even if it's a circumstance that we partially engineer to a degree. And certainly, as I said, we need to be held accountable, for our legitimate screw ups. But that the degree of that, is take it in scale. We're not talking about genocide. We're not talking about, someone, setting an insurance fire. I mean, there's a lot of really, really bad people. This guy's not a really, really bad person. No metric by which we could compare to even the guy that steals your catalytic converter can be, assessed onto this individual. Like it's take it in scale. It's like you're unhappy with something. Now, life has gotten a little bit more complicated for this person. Let's not make it more complicated. We'll obviously all, I think, be watching to see, what comes out of this. We hope he's okay, and I say that legitimately.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people do. And I think even a lot of people that are saying really mean and terrible things, they don't want anything bad to happen. They just, they've become part of the mob. They've gotten swallowed up in the flow of having something that unites them. And it's unfortunately really easy to unite people over negative things. And I would just say, what would Steve Rogers do? It's like, if you love comics, if you love heroes, what would that person think of you in the way that you're reacting to this person? I mean, in any person, if you're being crappy to somebody, that person, that this character, this ideal that you hold, that you think of as being, something worthy of reverie, they would not think well of you. And I think people should really consider that before they do almost anything. There's a certain, you can be self-interest, you can be competition, it's not always a competition, but, try to be, as understanding about a situation before you immediately rush into an opinion about something. And especially if it's something that you don't even really care about.
Right.
Like, did you want one of those acetate, I didn't care, I didn't really care about it at all. I didn't even really particularly like the cover, and then so the acetate on top of it meant even less to me. I already have, an Ultimate Fallout number 4. I've got a few of them, so it's like, if it wasn't going to be an investment, I'm going to put my money towards something I actually want, and some stuff I buy that I know isn't going to be valuable just because I like the artist who did it. So for those Clayton Crane collectors that wanted that thing and couldn't get it, I feel a little bit for them. But, they can get it now. And it's probably going to be a lot cheaper than it was that day, quite honestly.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Awesome, Matt. All right, Matt. We'll let you head out here again. Thank you
Cool.
so much. Appreciate the long time support that you've given to me and my channel. So,
My pleasure.
hey, anytime you want to hop back on, man, just let me know.
I'll take you up on it. All
Awesome.
right. Thanks,
All right,
man.
Matt. Take care for
Bye.
sure. Awesome, man. So glad that we were able to have Matt jump in the stream today, guys. I do want to just kind of close out here and state that first off, I want to address somebody that's back in the chat. Friends with issues. Look, man, the show is we're wrapping up here. I got to go take care of some personal stuff, but I want you to know that my door is open to you. I'm not going to apologize for saying that you're acting like you have a stick up your ass. Maybe those weren't the right words. I'm not going to apologize for it at this point in time, though, because that's how I felt you were acting. And you haven't given me anything to, pull back from that. I gave you my email. You never emailed me. I was ready to get the link. You said that your email you left in the chat, I never saw it. So you didn't allow yourself the opportunity to come on and have a conversation. I don't like how you handled yourself, because when I gave you that opportunity, you continued to be more of a troll, where you were just gaslighting me, egging me on, instead of wanting to have a productive conversation. We had Matt come on as somebody that wanted to actually share his opinions to have a productive conversation. But friends with issues, my handle on Instagram is this right here. Okay? If you're not following me on Instagram, find me on Instagram, send me a private message. We can have a private conversation. I'm willing to open up my door to you, because I'm not trying to burn any bridges in this community. I don't want to judge your character and think that you're this horrible human being. I think your attitude in the stream today was wrong. And it really felt like your only intent was to troll for self-gratification or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. You can hit me up privately. We can have a private conversation. And maybe if I have another live stream and you want to come on and talk with an audience, we could do that too. And maybe we can build that bridge. But for right now, it is what it is. I'm going to be wrapping up here because I got life to deal with. So I just want to say thank you all for being here. Again, this is a serious matter. This isn't about comic books, guys. We get heated and so worked up over comic books. When people's lives and livelihoods come into play, if you don't want to publicly show empathy, let alone sympathy, like I said, this ain't about sympathy. Empathy, the best thing to do is ignore it. The best thing to do is ignore it. So don't add fuel to the fire. So right now, I'm separating the man, the human being, from the comic book stuff, and I'm leaving it alone. And for anybody out there that is seriously struggling, because we don't know, you don't know what I'm going through when I come here and I put this camera on and I have to put my game face on. I don't know what any of you guys are going through. I don't. All I know is that we're human beings and we all deserve the opportunity to have a voice, to be heard, and to not have to sit alone in our depression or whatever mental health issues we may be dealing with. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for joining today, again, on a very serious important topic. Oh, B Level, what's going on, man? I appreciate your words. Thank you. Thank you so much. So again, thank you guys. Suicide Awareness Month, all month long. Spread the word. The phone number is below and is in the link in the description. I hope you guys can have a good rest of your day. I hope you took something out of this. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to others. Peace.